It is 3 p.m. Tuesday, October 21st, 2025. I'll call this regular council meeting to order of the Sun Peaks Resort Municipality, Mountain Resort Municipality. I'd like to acknowledge that we live, work, and play on the whole traditional home of the Secwepemc peoples. Do we have any late items to introduce? Okay. Can I get an approval of the agenda? Councillor Kimmel, seconded by Councillor Reichen. All those in favor?
Aye.
And maybe today with two of us online, can we go just any opposed so we don't have to count, wait for them to yay online? Is that good to go? Okay. Can I get a motion to adopt the regular council meetings of October 7th, 2025? Councillor Reichen, Councillor Kimmel, is there any discussion? Okay, is anyone opposed? Hearing none. Okay, we can move on to our report, section 5.1. We'll start with our mayor and council reports. Mayor O'Toole?
Nothing for me to.
Report for us this week?
No, not today, no.
All right, thank you very much, Mayor O'Toole. Can we go on to 5.2 staff reports?
Thank you, Councillor Dye. Just a brief update on the health center and the request for proposal process. So as noted at the last council meeting, one proposal was received. The evaluation team has reviewed that proposal and completed the evaluation process. However, discussions and negotiations with the proponent are still ongoing. At the same time, discussions are also ongoing with respect to the current health association, which is made up of municipal council members. And I did miss adding in my memo on the agenda that the health association did actually recently appoint a community member to the board, Alice Muirhead. So the health association is exploring how it could support the health center transition, as well as a potential governance role with the health center, which it did have in the past. And attached to the memo, council had also requested that we release the full report of the working group, and that is attached to the agenda as well.
Perfect, thank you very much. Moving on to 5.22.
Sure. Acting Mayor Dye, could I just speak for a minute?
You certainly, Mayor O'Toole.
Thanks for that. Firstly, I just thank you very much for you taking this on for me this week while I'm away. I just wanted to speak quickly to CEO Campbell's update around the health center, and I know that this is a key subject and an important subject to the community as a whole. We can see that in the number of times I think that council as a whole is being contacted and reached out to. And as CEO Campbell mentioned, this is the full report has been released by council regarding the working group in this particular update this week. And the discussions and negotiations are ongoing with the proponent. And I just want to encourage residents to look at the bigger picture here. And when you look at this scenario, we've got a council, we have a working group, we have health association. This combined group probably has somewhere in the neighborhood of 250 years of residency and working and business ownership and raising children and volunteering in this community. There's a lot of folks in these groups that have a lot of passion for community, that are putting a lot of effort and time into this process. There's been literally, and I'm not exaggerating, hundreds and hundreds of hours have gone into this process. And I hope that folks would take the time to trust in this process. It's important that we follow a process, that the process has integrity, and that I truly believe that we're going to come out the other end better for it. I know at times it can feel a little bit stressful as we're going through that process. It's part of the reason why we've appointed Alice Muirhead back to the Health Association, and we've been working on options with the association to kind of stabilize and plan for a future with this clinic so that we're not back in this position as the time goes forward. And I just want to encourage citizens to just understand that we've got the best interests of the community at heart. And you may not see it right now as you're concerned about where the clinic is at and where we're going, but we will get there. Every storm runs out of rain, and these are important times, but we just need to have patience and know that the decision in the end will be in the best interest of the community. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor O'Toole. All right, moving on to 522, appointment of the corporate officer. CEO Campbell, would you like to discuss?
Thank you, Councilor Guy. Just to provide some context to this report, and council and staff are already aware, but our former Director of Corporate Services, Nikki Johnson, is no longer with the organization effective September 18th, 2025. Nikki has been a dedicated member of the municipality since 2007 and as Director of Corporate Services for most of that time. We acknowledge all her contributions and certainly appreciate her years of service. We will recruit for the Director of Corporate Services role in the future, but we'll be taking some time to reevaluate the position and the needs of the organization. In the meantime, someone must be appointed as the corporate officer. It's an official role required by the local government legislation, and there are statutory duties that must continue to be met. Therefore, the recommendation in the interim is that the CAO be appointed until the Director of Corporate Services position is filled in the future.
Okay. Are you wanting a motion for that?
There's a
Time? I have one from Councilor Reichen, seconded by Councilor Kimmel. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the motion. Is anyone opposed to CEO Campbell being named as the corporate officer? Okay, moving on to 5.24, the BC Building Permit Hub, is Director Hoffer speaking, or?
Oh, there's one more, Councilor Dive just before that, 5.2.3. There's a verbal update for me. Just on
Oh, I thought that was already done.
Apologies. Just a quick update on the official community planning work. It is ongoing. As council is aware, we want to ensure that with this update, we're engaging with the bands early on and meaningfully. We have been doing that, making efforts to do that. Our municipal planners and I had the opportunity to join a leadership meeting made up of technical and land representatives from the three bands, Swilax, Nisconnet, and Adams Lake. We were able to provide them with an overview of the OCP work and get their thoughts and input on how they would like to be engaged in the process. We plan to attend another leadership meeting with the same group in November or December, where we'll hopefully be able to get into more details about the OCP. And what we really want to focus on, and we've mutually agreed on this approach, is developing principles in the OCP to guide our relationships and our partnerships and opportunities to work with the bands. We also will discuss the OCP at upcoming meetings with the chief and councils. I know Mayor O'Toole has connected with a number of the chiefs. And once we have an updated draft, we'll then begin the community consultation portion of that.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now I think we can move on to 5.24, Director Hoffer.
Thanks, Acting Mayor Dye. Yeah, this is exciting for me, probably less exciting for everyone else, but that's okay. This is a free software that the province is putting on for any municipality that wants to be part of it, and it allows for fully digital building permit submissions and reviews. Currently, it's just for small housing projects, like a single family house up to a fourplex, but they are actively working on creating more and more and adding to it. It's something like a 2-year program for them to increase. I don't anticipate that it will be without hiccups at the start. I'm fully on board with working through any problems with any permittees. They can just email me if they really want to just keep going with the way things are going now. But as we move forward and start ironing things out, I'd really like this to basically be our entire permit process. It lets us do internal referrals easier. It has emailed updates to applicants, and it streamlines a lot of the stuff we're doing now and just kind of tightens up the process. And I think it's gonna be really, really awesome. In 6 months to a year, it'll be pretty much full go.
Hey, perfect. Thank you very much. Any of the councilors have any questions for Mr. Hoffer before we move on? All right, thank you. We're going to move on to 5.25, permissive tax exemptions. Do you want to do a quick brief overview before we go into the readings?
Sure.
Properties owned by the municipality have a statutory exemption from paying property taxes. But properties that are leased or used by the municipality or that council considers are used for the purpose of local authority can also be exempt. And this is done through a permissive tax exemption, and this is what we're looking for our municipal office as well as for the public health unit that is used for locums when they come to work at the clinic. And so I recommend that council gives 3 readings for permissive tax bylaw exemption, bylaw number 0230/2025.
Okay, if I'm correct, do we have to do all 3 of these separately, or can we do them at once?
You give first and second reading once and then third reading.
Okay.
So 2 motions.
Perfect, so can I get a motion for first and second reading of 2025-1021 permissive tax exemption 2025? Counselor Kimmel, seconded by Counselor Ryken. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, I'll hear the question. Is there any against? All right, hearing none, motion passed. We will move on to, reading passed.
Your motion for third reading.
Yeah, yeah. And then we'll now move on to third reading of 2025-1021 permissive tax exemptions. Counselor Kimmel, seconded by Counselor Ryken. Any discussion? Any opposed? All right, that's third reading has passed. Thank you. We will go on to item 526, traffic operations information handbook.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Dye. So the handbook has been developed in alignment with generally accepted design guidelines, but also with special considerations for the unique environment that we operate here in at Sunpeaks. And that's, where Urban Systems, the engineers who did this, they're very familiar with our operating environment here and spent a lot of time designing roads and subdivisions throughout Sunpeaks. I don't think there's anything really exciting in there, kind of like Director Hoffer there. I'm excited about it, but I don't expect too many other people to be. With the exception of the one, potentially controversial topic of speed bumps. Now, if we go to the letter of the law on the guidelines, it would appear that speed bumps are not required in that community. In discussions with the engineers at Urban Systems, I didn't feel like that would be a recommendation that I would feel comfortable bringing to council. So I asked them to consider some general recommendations that we could potentially implement here at Sunpeaks. And so they've done that. It's listed here with speed bumps installed on local and collector roads, 200 to 400 meters apart in general, not in areas where there are sidewalk access, and not above 8% or 4.5%, 4.5 degree grade. And that is actually one of the guidelines taken from the master documents that drove this document. And I think you'll find also that this is not a coincidence that these guidelines that we've come up with generally align with what we're seeing within the community already. So don't expect to see too much to change in that respect. And with council approvals of the guidelines, we'll get to work on building out a scope to fill the gaps where we don't meet the standard and bring them to budget for next year.
Okay, and you are looking for council to adopt the implementation of the handbook?
Correct.
Perfect. Can I
Just
get,
a question for this, do we need to adopt this as a policy, council policy?
No, I'm always looking for council support.
I think it'll be built, I think the guidelines will end up being built into some of our policies, including our parking and regulations bylaw. So Mr. Hoffer we've formed a working group to look at that bylaw, but we've held off on making any changes, waiting for the outcome of these guidelines. So I think we'll see the guidelines built into existing policies and bylaws.
Subdivision development bylaw.
Exactly, yeah.
Let's see.
okay, so we probably don't need a motion then, we just need
Yeah,
to.
we should do it.
Normal.
We should.
A motion to certainly.
As recommended.
Accept
Okay.
accept the guidelines so that we can incorporate those into our policies and bylaws.
Yeah, just clear, are we accepting the report or accepting the guidelines?
The guidelines.
Handbook.
The handbook, are we accepting the handbook or accepting? Okay. Thank you. Can I get a motion then to accept the handbook from Councilor Ryken, seconded by Councilor Kimmel? Do we have any further discussion? All right, hearing none, I'll call the question. Is anybody opposed? All right, hearing none. We don't have any new business today. So we'll move on to item seven, correspondence and information items. I know, CEO Campbell, you did want to have just a quick mention about some of our correspondence and policies here.
I did. I wanted to, if council will allow me to address a couple of the items on the agenda under correspondence. So you'll see two items related to the foreign buyers ban. I know that council and the municipality get a number of questions about, you know, what we're doing in terms of advocating for an exemption for Sun Peaks with the foreign buyers ban. It's a really difficult matter to continually keep the community updated on, partly because a lot of times meetings are happening, conversations are happening, and unfortunately nothing is coming out of it, and it is extremely frustrating. However, there are things happening, and that have been ongoing. So what administration is working on is compiling all past letters and efforts since the implementation of the foreign buyers ban. And then we're also documenting all efforts to date and putting that together in an information package to bring forward to the next council meeting. I think it's important, and I will address it when it comes forward at the next meeting, that there are a number of other organizations and levels of government that are advocating on this issue. And it is not our place, unfortunately, to speak on their behalf or to disclose the meetings and the efforts that they've been undertaking. But I do think it's important to acknowledge that we've got ministries with the provincial government, we've got real estate associations, we've got Sun Peaks Resort, we've got lobbying groups, we've got members of our own community that are reaching out to the federal housing minister. So I just want to acknowledge that there's many other groups and individuals that are advocating on this, but I will do my best to put together an information package on specifically what the municipality has been doing to date and continues to do on that matter.
Thank you, appreciate it. It's definitely, like you said, a lot of pages of mostly boring stuff that no one's answered.
Yes.
Appreciate the hard work
Mhm.
that Mayor O'Toole's been continuing on with this and yourself, so thank you. And
Yeah, and I did want to speak to another item on the agenda, so I know there was a concern. So the letter under 7.2 with a previous letter that was on the last agenda. So I just wanted to remind council and the public that there is a council correspondence policy, and it does direct that all correspondence addressed to council go on the public agenda. There is a provision in that policy that does give the corporate officer and the mayor some discretion to not include correspondence that's deemed inappropriate, offensive, misleading, threatening, or harmful. In hindsight, the correspondence that the letter writer has referred to should perhaps not have been added, and staff will ensure that when we're receiving correspondence, we're reviewing that more closely with the mayor and making those decisions. But I do think it's important to clarify that correspondence appearing on the agenda does not mean that council supports the views or opinions in those letters. Council is just being transparent with the correspondence that's being sent to them. Placing correspondence on the agenda also doesn't mean that council intends to discuss it or engage with the subject matter or take any action on it. If council does wish to do any of those things, then they would raise that when the item comes up on the agenda, and they would just direct staff to take action on it, or they would discuss it. So there are some asks in this letter in 7.2. So I would defer to council on providing any direction to staff if they wish us to take any action on those asks. And I did just want to, I think it's important to reaffirm our commitment to reconciliation. And I think that is demonstrated with respect to the ongoing relationship building and partnership opportunities we continue to engage with the bans on, as well as our land acknowledgement.
And I don't know myself, Mayor O'Toole, if you want to address this. I know a few months ago, you have brought forward your wish to us to review the land acknowledgement. It has been discussed, but nothing formally has been done. I know there's been some asks to go back out to our neighbors and see what they would like to see in our land acknowledgement. So it hasn't been done. I don't know, Mayor O'Toole, if you want to chime in at the moment here.
Well, I think, thanks for that, Acting Mayor Dye. I mean, at the moment, we have our land acknowledgement that we use in meetings. There's also been as a part of our cultural and arts exhibit that was partnered with Squamish First Nations. There is a new land acknowledgement that they put forward that was approved that is also now on the Sun Peaks Center. And I think some of my own, that's just kind of my own personal learnings over the last little while. There's a time and a place for land acknowledgement, but I think the more important thing here, to go back and just kind of as CAO Campbell mentioned, is the work we're doing on the ground. And there's not necessarily always that's seen in the light of day on a day-by-day basis, but we, Mayor Rain invested a significant amount of time over the last 15 plus years in working with our local nations, and that work has continued by staff and by myself. Attended the reconciliation ceremony and walk this year, which was the first time anyone from Sun Peaks had ever been invited and took part, and now we'll be taking it part again next year, and also having ongoing meetings and dialogue, whether it be an official community, government to government capacity, sometimes just getting together and breaking bread. But I feel like we're in a really good place with the relationships with our local First Nations. There was just recently a First Nations Health Authority Youth Leadership Conference. It was here a few weeks ago, and I was asked to provide opening remarks and spoke at that event as well too. And it was an excellent event, and had an opportunity to engage with members of Secwepemc First Nations, and so there's a lot of positive things happening here. And as to CEO Campbell's point, I think we see that there's definitely there was a gap, and it was unfortunate that earlier correspondence was posted, and if we had that to do over again, we probably wouldn't. And we'll work on those policies and ensure that going forward, those kinds of things don't happen again.
Right, thank you, Mayor O'Toole.
Just,
Councillor Kimmel?
and just in reference to 7.4, was there discussion on 7.4?
Oh, yes, that's right.
If we get 7.4, if we would like to have some discussion. I know while Mayor O'Toole has been away, I have talked to CAO Campbell about this, and directors have sort of are looking at parking and issues and stuff, and they have at this point don't have a recommendation for us today on it. I don't know if councillors would like to discuss it further.
I don't know if Mr. Hopper wants to speak. This was the request regarding allowance of parking on Sundance Drive.
I can speak that we've also received some verbal complaints about people parking there, causing congestion and potential safety hazards. So we've looked at it with our bylaw officers. We're still discussing on some potential options. But we can inform council when we come up with something.
If council wishes us to look into it further, I mean, I think ultimately council would need to provide direction on us making an exception to our existing regulations on that street during that period of time.
I would like a little more information on that, on how that may or may not affect, because the request is for sort of prior to the season opening. So I know I'm curious how much that would really affect those, but I understand if it does affect them, but I'd like to get more information on that, because if there isn't a great fact, perhaps this is a valid request.
Yep. Mr. Hopper will take that away.
All right.
You follow up.
All right, before we move into a closed meeting, we do have the opportunities from questions from the public. Just sort of remind everyone here that this is your opportunity to ask questions of council. It's not your opportunity to argue or debate with your neighbor sitting beside you. That's why we're not here. We will do our best to answer questions. I will say we will not answer questions about ongoing negotiations with any proponents. That's not something we can discuss here today with you. So if you have some questions about anything else, please address the council by stating your name. Mr. Poza?
Mario Poza. Just with regards to the process of trying to determine what's going to happen with the health clinic. I'm just going to be speaking from my experience having been on the Health Association since its inception. And I would just like to speak to the models that occurred with providing health services to the community. We started with the small trailer, which was a 2-hour, once a day type of thing, totally run by volunteers. Which is, yeah, at this point in time, there might be some question as to whether or not that's the proper thing to do anymore. But that was fairly successful. We were only getting 10% of medical fees, and that established the small trailer and it provided service. We then got a clinic. The clinic was created, and in my recollection of being on the Health Association, which I was on for some 25 years. The recollection was our desire and our goal was to build a health clinic to try to attract medical services to the community. And by so doing that, hopefully they would be happy and they might consider taking that facility over, as it wasn't supposed to be in the purview of the municipality to be running a health service. It's the provincial response. And initially, we found somebody to help start the clinic up. Fortunately, that individual had some contacts, was able to get at least one physician and eventually more physicians to work in the clinic, and it was successful in that it provided those services. But also being on council at the same time, I'm well aware that there was a deficit. The government did not cover the cost of the staffing and some of the overhead issues, and I'm sure there are people in this room that can attest to those facts. And that wasn't working, to the point that when we applied to become financed as a community health center by the provincial definition of a community health center, we were hoping that we would get that designation and they would provide funding for those MOAs, front staff, administrative things that are ongoing. And that would have made us financially much more viable. It would also give us predictable financing so that the doctors could try to recruit more doctors to the clinic. We did not get that. We didn't meet the requirements because we did not have a large enough base, which left us in a tight spot. Because the doctors are going, we don't know where the funding's coming. There were doctors that were sort of saying, we're probably gonna be done. And that's when STEPS came in, and they did us a great service. They came in, they did get out, they did apply for and receive CHC funding for their clinics in town. They had an economy of scale because there's a lot of the resources they had were available if they were running our clinic, to hopefully lower our costs and maybe make us financially viable. That we could take a percentage of billings and cover the overhead costs. Over the last couple of years, that STEPS has been in there, in conversations with their administrative officer. We were definitely getting feedback that they were struggling, that financially this wasn't working. And now we get to this point. So I would suggest to you, I would say to you, we tried a model that did work, but it isn't acceptable. It's too many volunteers and certainly not viable as the community grows. Then we had two situations where we had an administrative group overseeing the clinic, and that wasn't financially working. And we had STEPS come in and did it again. And I would hope that the council, because it is their choice and they're going to go into discussion about it, I'm sure, that in looking at the options put forward to us, that we look at the past and say, it didn't work with an administrative body number one, which was us, didn't really work really well with an administrative body number two. And if there are other options available, that I would encourage you to take a look at that and make some prudent decisions based on that. And I would leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Enos?
Enos Polpick. I would just like to congratulate the working group on the extremely comprehensive and timely document that they prepared in a very short time that they had available to them. And also that it has been made available to the public. It gives us an idea of how much effort has gone in. And in having spoken with a number of members of the community, I can say that there is a very large anxiety about potentially losing our medical service up here. And one thing that I am concerned about is why I was Muirhead a year and a half ago, when the Health Association was looking for volunteers, did not join the Health Association. That could have prevented a lot of issues.
If you'd like to direct questions to council, please do. As I mentioned, you're not going to direct questions to your neighbor at this point. Ms.
Okay.
Muirhead is
But I
not a
think
member
it
of
would be-
council and
it
we're
would
not
be
directing
good-
questions to her at this
Yes, if
point.
we could find out why there was no interest at the time when the Health Association was still run outside the municipal jurisdiction, then that would be good to know.
Thank you. And do we have any other questions? Either, I guess there's not online anymore. We're not like, does anyone online have? Okay, we don't have any other questions online. Nancy, would you?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that we're finding ourselves in a very interesting situation where we have a medical doctor who's been here for over a year now, and I think has proven her worth in many, many ways. She's unique in the sense that she has a passion not only for family medicine, but also for emergency medicine and everything in between. I know to find a physician like this is not easy these days, and we really have to take a really good hard look at what it would take to keep her here. I have a question for council, and that is, I'm not sure, but I don't think to this point, the Dr. Catherine Nowierski has had a chance to sit around the table with council in an I suppose an in-camera meeting and be available to ask the questions and have a frank discussion about what they are proposing, what they would like, why they see things the way they do. But I know that everybody in our community would like to see ongoing, consistent, high-quality medical care. And personally, I think that we have to be very careful when we make this decision. I've been involved with the Health Association and a member also since the formation, although I never served on their board. I did do a lot of fundraising in building the clinic. And as many people in our community have done, we've donated to that clinic. And as such, we feel it's ours. And I look at it, and my first instinct when I heard that one of the stumbling blocks might well be their desire to have an option somehow to purchase the clinic, then my first reaction was, oh no, that's ours. But the more I started to think about it, the more I started to realize that that would free up some capital to put in ongoing community facilities. And in a sense, as a donor, you could get 2 for 1 on your
Rob would like to speak.
Mayor O'Toole?
No, sorry, I'd lost sound there for a bit. It just came
Oh,
back.
sorry, for some reason he's
Problem.
muted. Just give me a second. Sorry, Rob, hold on.
Good now. I can hear you now, but there was a period of time there where I couldn't hear anything.
Same with me.
Okay. So it might have just been the Zoom link. It's okay.
Rob, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Maybe he's muted himself.
Have you muted yourself?
No, I haven't. No, I'm not muted.
Can you guys hear me as well?
Muted either. He has his.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, it's working now. Sorry about that. I lost hope for a bit there.
Did we throw out the mayor?
Pardon
Did we throw out the mayor?
me? Maybe might have thrown.
He's like the
That
big,
sounds like that might be the plan right now, but no, I'll try to hang in there.
I'm not sure what's going on.
I can hear Mayor O'Toole. Do you have?
It's not coming through the speaker.
No.
button.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm good. I couldn't hear when Nancy was speaking. I lost audio, so.
Okay, yeah, I guess we can fill you in on our question later. if you have
That's
nothing
fine, yeah.
to Add to it at this point in time. If, have no other questions from the public, I'm going to look for a motion to close this meeting pursuant to the community charter, sections 90.1, the security of the property municipality, and J, information that's prohibited or information that is presented in document were prohibited from disclosure under section 21 of the Freedom of Information and Protections of Privacy Act. The council does close pursuant to community charter, section 90.1D, the security of the property. It's on there twice. It's actually on there twice on my notes. I just thought this two reasons why we were closing. I guess we're going to a closed meeting for one reason, not two.
you got it.
Does anyone got that motion for me? Yes. Counselor Reichen, seconded by Counselor Kimmel. All those in favor, anyone against, please say nay. All right, hearing none, we will close this meeting and move into a closed meeting.
Okay, right.